welcome back to English TV Live, everyone. This is episode number 13. I hope you're having a fantastic Monday, wherever you are. Today, we are going to talk all about risk-taking. It's Motivation Monday, time to talk about taking risks.
And you're not going to be taking any risks if you join us today. It's a very safe place to be. But if you're watching this for the first time, myself and Jacob, we run an online private community called English TV Live. It's your #1 resource for live English lessons. If you have not already, head over to EnglishTVLive.com and join the waitlist. We will be opening it up to the public, our online exclusive community, next Wednesday. So get your name and email address on that website, and we look forward to having you.
Awesome. So, risk-taking. Why don't we start with a question for everyone in our audience right now? In the comment section, why don't you tell us about a time when you took a risk, a big risk, that paid off? If you take a risk and it pays off, it means that you succeed, that the risk was worth your while, that you got what you wanted. Everything that you wanted to happen, happened. Your risk paid off. Okay, that's a good phrasal verb to know. Lloyd, what about you? Have you taken any risks that paid off? I hope you have.
Many risks. But as Jacob said, that is a very good expression to know. So when a risk pays off, that means you take a risk. Maybe you were scared. We talked about fears the other day, right? It kind of all ties together. So yeah, if you take a risk and it ends up going well, you have a good result, then it paid off. But, you know, sometimes it doesn't pay off. It doesn't pay off. So that's a good expression to know. As for me, I don't know, there's a lot of, I mean, you know, there's a lot of examples, I guess, for all of you and for all of us. Maybe for me, a risk was starting my online teaching business. You know, I mean, quitting my job. Right? Quitting my job at a school to then work online just by myself. Kind of similar to yourself, Jacob. I mean, it's a risk, right? And
It is a risk.
if it goes well, it can work out well. It can pay off. But if it doesn't, you know, there could be some negative results. So I guess for me, that was quite a big risk. Just off the top of my head, that's the first one that comes to mind, and that was about almost a year ago now. Not exactly a year, maybe 9 months ago. But definitely, I'm very happy I took that risk because I wouldn't be talking to everybody now. I wouldn't be with Jacob now. I wouldn't be, you know, I wouldn't be in Thailand now. I wouldn't be doing what I like to do. So definitely, it paid off. How about you, Jacob?
Awesome. Yes, well, definitely that. So I think we share that risk. Before that, for me, the first one that came to mind, and I'm sure that you can relate to this too, but is making the move to go to Korea to teach and taking that risk and going to live in
I
a different
think we've got
country.
I
So that
think
was,
you and I have a lot of the same risks.
yeah, I think so. And I think we chose some quotes. That was the plan. So I want to go over one
Yes,
quote
yes.
here that I think is a very important one. Before I do, Arusa says, I took a risk and decided to complete my master's in English literature. That is a very big risk. Good for you. I hope it paid off. I hope it's paying
Right.
off right now. Right.
And that would be a
So this
risk
is from Mark
because
Zuckerberg.
why would that be a risk? Maybe let us know. Sorry, Jacob. Let us know, Arusha, why that was such a big risk. Was it a risk financially? What was the reason why it was such a big risk?
Yeah, I mean, my guess would be many reasons. It's financial. It's a big decision financially. It's a big decision to take that much time and invest it in something. It's a big
Definitely, yeah.
decision because you don't know where you're going to be after that and what you'll do with that degree. So many risks, I'm sure. But this quote is from Mark Zuckerberg, whose
Okay.
lovely platform we're using right now.
Thanks,
And
Mark.
he said, the biggest risk is not taking any risk. In a world that changes really quickly, the only strategy that is guaranteed to fail is not taking risks.
Yeah, and I think if you go on to Google and you Google different motivational quotes about taking risk, that's a common theme, a very common theme, which means something you see a lot is that idea that if you don't take the risk, that is a risk. The biggest risk is not taking a
Right.
risk. So what does that
Yeah,
mean
exactly.
exactly?
I really like, well, I really like this quote and what you just said because it really makes you realize that you have to make a decision either way. You either do it or you don't do it. And if you're held back by fear, well, maybe that's a bigger risk. Maybe you'll end up, 5 years from now really regretting that. Most people probably do. Um, One interesting technique that I've heard people talk about when it comes to these big decisions and taking risks is to train yourself to be more afraid of not taking that risk, of not
Yes,
listening to that
yes,
voice inside
exactly.
that pushes you forward. Yeah. So I think
Yeah,
that's why I like this quote. It reminds me of that.
yeah, definitely. I think again, we talked quite a few times about Tony Robbins, and he has something like the pain pleasure sort of divide. So it's you have to try and train your brain to think about what the painful consequences of not taking action would be. So even if it is a risk, if it's scary, the painful consequences of not taking action, which is mostly regret, right? Regret is something
Hmm.
that can last for a long time, but embarrassment, pain, failure, these things generally just last for a shorter time. So if you look at it from the grand scheme in the grand scheme of things, which means look at the whole perspective, then the risk is definitely worth it. Generally, I mean, there are some risks which are not worth taking, such as, I don't know, climbing a skyscraper without any equipment, which some people do. If you go on YouTube and Facebook and
I love
Instagram, you see a lot of that. So there are some
um,
unnecessary risks, but yeah,
yeah, there's a great example of this from Young Me Park here in the comment section who says, I took a risk to take a long maternal leave from the company and devoted a few years to raise my son. And it paid off well as it seems my son has grown to be quite a happy 4-year-old boy now. And yeah, that's a huge one, I imagine. I mean, I'm not a father, I've never had kids, but your children are only young for a certain period of time. And if you miss that because you're working and you're worried about a promotion, you don't get that time back. And I'm sure many parents have been filled with regret that they did not spend more time with their kids during that crucial developmental period.
definitely, yeah. And in that case, it's a perfect example of something that a risk that paid off. But there are some risks which don't pay off, which you do, which are not worth it. Do you have any experiences which you can give about that, Jacob?
Oh
Any
yeah, I
risks you
mean,
took? Any risks
going
you
to
took, and
the
then you
going
and then
going
it?
to the casino.
Oh dear. Okay. Okay. What happened? What
Yeah,
happened,
there are
Jacob?
some
Where's the
risks that
money?
don't pay off. Well, I've been to the casino a few times in my life.
A few
Every
times
once in a while,
today.
it's fun. Um, they, Actually, I don't think they have them in Ontario. You have to go over to Quebec, which is another province. It's actually just across the bridge in Ottawa where I live. So you can get to another province from where I am in about 30 minutes where casinos are legal. So everyone, if they want to gamble in Ottawa or in Ontario, they just go over the bridge to Quebec, is what the province is called, to gamble. But anyways, yeah, I mean, that's an example of a risk that is really just not worth taking a lot of the time. You're more likely to lose, and everyone knows that, but people still love the thrill.
Exactly. Exactly. The thrill. Should I tell you give me my quote, and then maybe we can look at a comment from one of our private members in a second.
Yes.
Okay, I've got one quote. Look at that, and then we'll go to that. So my quote is this one, and it has a few good expressions in it which we can review as well. So here it is. I don't know, but when I think it's a mirror on Facebook Live. We have the mirror mode, right? You can't. It's probably the mirror. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Anyway,
backwards.
all right. Never mind. If you want it, go for it. Take a risk. Don't always play it safe. or you'll die wondering. Okay, it's quite a long one, but it has a few good expressions. So the first one,
Right.
if you want it, if you really want it, go for it, right? It's a good expression. Go for it. It means do it. Give your efforts. Try to achieve that thing. Go for it. Um, take a risk, right? So you take the risk, as of course, as we know. Don't always play it safe. Is a very good expression. Play it safe. So if you play it safe, that what does that mean, Jacob?
Well, to play it safe basically means to not take the risk. So if you play it safe a lot of the time, you're not doing something that perhaps you should be doing or perhaps you're thinking of doing. Sometimes it's good to play it safe, I would say. There are times when it's strategic to play it safe, but in the context of risk taking, that's what that means. If you play it safe, you're not being aggressive maybe and making moves.
Exactly. And one other expression you can use, which is connected to playing it safe, is I'm not sure if we mentioned this one already. I don't think we did. Is your comfort zone. So getting
Right.
out of your comfort zone. So your comfort zone, it's your routine, right? Things you feel comfortable doing, things that are easy for you with low risk. With low risk. So to get out of your comfort zone is the opposite of that. To do things which scare you, to do things which challenge you. And then we can say another expression which is tied to that: high risk, high reward. High risk, high reward, which could also be at the casino as well.
Exactly. I just watched a video the other day on YouTube of someone who put like $40,000. He won this poker tournament, and then he put that money on a single spin of roulette. To put money on something means to gamble on that thing, and he won, so it paid off. High risk, high reward, but he could just have easily been a big idiot
And he put, how much
and
money did he
walking out
put
of
on?
there winning.
40,000?
Yeah, $40,000 or something.
That's
Something
ridiculous.
crazy.
That's ridiculous. That's not
Yeah.
what, I mean, that's, yeah, high risk, high reward, very high risk, very high reward. Before we go to the quote in our private community, Marilla has
Yep.
a good expression here. Getting out of your shell. That's a very good one. To get out of your shell is kind of
Yeah, that's a
similar
good
to
one.
getting out of your comfort zone. So you're in your shell, what makes you comfortable, but getting out of your shell means being brave, taking risk, doing things that maybe make you feel a bit uncomfortable, which can then give you high rewards. They can pay off.
And again, just before we get to that quote, how do you think this relates to learning a language?
That's a good question. Well, in terms of risk, I mean, it's kind of similar to one of the commenters who said um, she's she took the risk to study English masters, right? A master's degree in English, and in her case, as we said, it could be a risk in terms of financially, time, effort, tears, maybe, stress, and that's all risky, right? That's all risk. But then in the end, if she studies hard, the reward could be fantastic. I'm not sure exactly what she wants to do, Arusa, right? But the rewards could be amazing. I don't know what she wants to do with her English master's degree, but there could be infinite possibilities from taking the risk.
Yeah, and I would just add to that too, like a lot of people who are learning English come to me and they say things like, I'm nervous communicating with native English speakers, or I have a fear of making mistakes. And it ties into this idea of taking risks, I think. A lot of the time, people don't take the risks that they should take when they're learning English. They don't say things that they want to say because they're afraid of the consequences. But
That's yeah.
like we've been talking about, there are consequences to not saying those things too. So get out there, take risks, especially with language.
Yes.
Say things
Yes.
that even if you're not sure if what you're saying is correct, just get out there and say it. See how it sounds when it comes out of your mouth. It'll help.
Actually, that is the perfect example of taking risk. Yes. So speaking, maybe giving a public speech in English, um, talking to people, strangers in the street in English. These things are risky. They could be embarrassing. They could be scary, but they will ultimately help you to keep improving your English skills. Take the risk.
Right.
Let's get to the private group, shall we?
Shall we get to that comment? Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
So which one were you looking at? Or did you want me to
Okay,
choose?
sorry. Oh, sorry. I thought you had one there. Okay. So just give me
I
one
can
second.
have one. Here, I got one.
Okay.
So this is from Shazia.
Okay.
Shazia's is
This
quite
is a good
long,
one,
so
yeah.
I'll read a little. Yeah, a few years back, I was operating on a patient who was complaining about a wound that was. I'm correcting it as I'm going here. So a few years back, I was operating on a patient who was complaining about a wound that would not heal. She had a small wound on her lower abdomen, which was not healing despite all of the medications. I decided to explore that wound under local anesthesia so that it can heal quickly after. I picked a really long one here that is deep with medical problems. It turned out to be a very big problem. She had a forced tip on her wound. Sorry, let me get to the bottom of it. It was a very major surgery. So essentially what Shazia did, I'm not going to read all of it because it's very long, but she had a very difficult decision to make medically. Shazia is a surgeon in her own country, and she took a risk. She went forward with this surgery, and it paid off. So that's a risk with extreme consequences.
Yeah, it's a good example. I mean, yeah, doctors have to make risky decisions. They have to take risks every day. And imagine life and death decisions in your hands. So, and I can see more people are starting to like the comment now. So yeah, life and death decisions, of course, is a big risk. But if you can save somebody's life, then the reward is huge. Definitely.
Yeah.
So thank you very much to Shazia. She's a member of our private group, which will be open to the public next week. Speaking of the private group, shall we head over?
I think we should. Let's do it.
I
So we're
think
going
we
to head
should.
over to our private
Let's
group
just
right now. Yeah, sorry.
let's just take a few just take a look at a few comments before we leave. So Sarah, thank you for your comment. She says, I like it when it says, or you'll die wondering. Oh yeah, that was the end of my quote there. You'll die wondering. So this is a common theme. If you see a lot of people when they're at the end of their life, they often have regrets, a long list of regrets. And a lot of those regrets come from not taking the risks. It could be anything, right? It could be not asking that girl for her phone number, not
Yeah,
going for, not going for that job
actually,
opportunity.
I've got a funny story
No,
about that.
feel free to share, or
Um,
you want to share it in the private group, maybe.
sure. I'll share it in the private group.
All right. And Grace, Amir, Marella, Young Me, Pushpa says either figure the way out or stop complaining. And Brunella, Patricia, Doi, thank you to everybody for watching. Thank you for your comments. And hope you enjoyed Motivational Monday. It's what we do. Every Monday, we try to motivate you, motivate ourselves. And yeah, what would be the summary of today, Jacob? Take the risk?
Summary is, yeah, especially, depends what risk you're talking about. Be smart about it. But when it comes to learning a
Right.
language, when it comes to speaking English, definitely take the risk, okay? Get out there, speak with people, make mistakes. That's the only way you're going to learn. So take the risk. Let us know about any risks that you've been taking related to learning English. And we will be back tomorrow, okay? If you want to, one more time, if you want to join the waiting list for a private community, click on
Zero
the
risk.
link in the description of this video, zero risk. It'll take you to our website, fill out your name and email in the form, and you'll be on the list. And we'll be opening the community very soon. It's going to be an awesome time. So that's it for today. We'll see you tomorrow.
We'll see you tomorrow, everybody.
Anything else?
Have a lovely Monday. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Oh, oh. Bye-bye.